Hi everybody, it's Mairi. Welcome back to my page. If it's your first time, please make sure that you subscribe so that you can get all of the cosmic updates and the tarot spreads and pick-a-piles, etc. that I do there. You can also find me on social media at Healing Services in your search bar or Mairi Moybiel Healing Services. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to do a cosmic update around the full moon in Aries that happens today, October 1st, 2020 at 2:05 p.m. Arizona time, which is Pacific Standard Time, so 5:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. When we talk about this full moon, there's a ton to talk about. October has so much shifts in energy. So again, be sure to subscribe to my page for more of the cosmic updates on what's going on surrounding October. But this one, we're going to focus on the full moon in Aries. The full moon in Aries is at 9 degrees. It's going to intersect a lot of different aspects, and we're going to talk about that stuff. We're going to break it down at the end, but at the beginning, we're just going to start with the overview of why it's important and how it may affect you based on the collective energy. So if you want to hang out for all of it, I would love to have you. If you just want to stick to the beginning part, that's absolutely fine as well. You can check in the description and find all of the timestamps so you can zoom forward to the things that resonate most for you in your life. So why is this full moon such a big deal? We have full moons every single month, at least one. This month specifically, we have two. So the beginning of the month, October 1st, and the last day of the month, Halloween, there are two full moons. So there are three big lunar things happening. We have the full moon that's going to be in Aries today. We have the new moon that's going to be in Libra about mid-month. And then we have the full moon that's in Taurus ending the month of October. So these are patterns, lunar cycles and lunar patterns in our life, and we're going to break down what they mean, and there's going to be a Taurus full moon video. But I just want to give you the overview of how intense this energy is. When we talk about moon energy, we talk about internal energy, emotions, feelings, internal spiritual development, enlightenment, awareness. So these are all things that are going to be illuminated in the full moon. So when we think about a full moon, we think about it's directly across from the sun. It's fully illuminating the sky, and our internal world is being illuminated. So that's the big deal here with Aries. Not to mention, Aries, can you read a room? Like, we have not really been feeling the Aries energy due to Mars retrograde happening over the last few months, and all of the stations and aspects that we've had toward the Capricorn Council through the year. So I'm not going to get into that deep here. I will explain it more at the end if you're interested. But the Mars and Aries energy hasn't really been allowed to come out specifically over the last month. And so there's a lot of frustration in this energy. And so you may be feeling that internal frustration, the want to get things done, but unable to get things done, needing to find a balance. Those are all going to be things and themes that we talk about here. For a full moon, we always want to talk about releasing things. There's a pull during a full moon where you have, the sun's here and the moon's here, and it's pulling. So this is a great time for internal things to be pulled out of us and released. The main focus around a full moon is that we surrender to the release of things that no longer serve us, no longer serve our best purpose, our soul's purpose, etc. So we're asking the universe to assist us in releasing the things that no longer serve us around the full moon. So illuminating things that we may, have forgotten or we may put to the side. So the full moon will illuminate them. And then the full moon is also a time that we want to release things that no longer serve us. So that's the general consensus around a full moon, how you handle a full moon a lot of times. And there's so many other things that you can get into, but that's the general basis around a full moon. So let's talk about what the Aries energy brings into that specifically. And this is going to be general. So for you, you're going to look at your natal chart around what Aries energy is being held in your natal chart. So even if you don't have Aries as your sun sign or you don't have any planets in Aries, it's okay. Everyone has Aries energy in their natal chart. So if you have any questions, you want me to take a look at your chart and help guide you through it, please reach out to me anytime. I'll help you with the time and the space that I have. And you're always welcome to book a session or a reading on my Facebook page directly. One other thing I did want to mention before we go into what the Aries part is going to bring. Full moons also are a time where our bodies sometimes are retaining water, retaining emotions. So we're very, human beings are very tied to the moon and the moon's energies and the moon's changing. So this is a time where you might feel your body swell, water retention. You may have really vivid dreams. You may have trouble sleeping. You may be exhausted and you don't know why you're exhausted. There may be mood swings that happen. So all of these things are around any big lunar shifts that are happening because we are very tied to the energy of the moon. And so one way that I try to remember is just kind of to gently allow my body to move, to circulate the energy, and when I move, like you can see me kind of like moving very gently, very slowly, very fluid, because the moon is a feminine energy. The moon is water. The moon is intuition and instincts and internal being. So just allowing your body to kind of flow and move and stretch and guide and circulate will help with some of that if you feel body pain or if your body is reactant to the moon cycles. So one way you can figure that out is journaling, which I talk about with my clients all the time, making sure that you're just jotting down some things as your days go by so that you can see how you react to the moon phases. Are you a new moon kid who really, really, really strives during a new moon? Or are you someone who really, really, really struggles during the new moon, full moon, different times? So journaling is always a good way to figure out how you're affected specifically by the different cycles. But that would just be a quick tidbit of something I would keep in mind. Moving your body gently, flowing, allowing the feminine energy to circulate, the water and things that we're holding. So again, that release. So we're holding and we're asking to release, and that is physical, emotional, spiritual, like we're allowing all of it to release. The more we cling on to things during this energy, the more painful that can be for us. So surrendering to the energy. When we talk about Aries, though, we're going to talk about how we may have a tendency to act on impulse here. So releasing on impulse, and that's not necessarily what we want to do with this Aries energy, because Aries is our aggressor a lot of times in its lower vibrations. And so we don't want that aggression to push out things that aren't ready. Instead, it's a time to sit and reflect and allow those answers to come from within. And from within is going to be a big trend that we see during this Aries full moon. Aries is the sign of self. And so a lot of stuff, so we're going to get into it more, but just a quick idea and note on that. Okay, one more thing. So moon and cycles. So I talk about this in other videos, but I like to just make it a note. Moon cycles, like this one specifically, there are cycles within cycles, but normally this is what we want to look at is a 6-month cycle. So every year there is a new moon in Aries that happens during Aries season, so back in March and April. And then there is a full moon in Aries that happens during Libra season, and that happens every year, and that's a cycle. So new moon in Aries in March and April is a time where you want to kind of think back and see what were you starting, what was beginning, because new moons are beginnings. And then now this is going to be what is coming to fruition, what is to be harvested at the full moon in the same sign. So just to link that, again, journaling is a great way to keep these things in your life and understanding how things work and come up and happen in your life internally and externally. So just another side note, take a glance or think back to what you were doing around that Aries new moon in 2020. So before we get into the aspects and what else is coming into this full moon, let's just talk about an Aries full moon and assume nothing else is happening around it, which is not true in 2020. So an Aries full moon, when we think about Aries, Aries is the sign of self. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the first sign of the spring season. So we think about new beginnings. We think about the initiator, the one who leads. Aries is a fire sign, so it's very go and get it. It's the sign that doesn't have fear to just go into something. So there are other cardinal signs that we talk about: Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, and they like to have a better idea of what they're going into. Aries does not care. Aries just goes. And so this is a good time for Aries because we don't know what's coming up, right? So this Aries energy coming into this full moon is harvesting, time to release and time to see our fruits, the fruits of our labor. And Aries comes in with that no fear of what I don't know. And so it's a good time to cling on to that energy, that courage, that faith or belief in yourself, or hope for the future, whatever that is. Aries brings that courage, that self-confidence, that just ensuring that they're good, like they'll figure it out. They're good to go. The other thing here is Aries is aggressive, has a tendency to be very aggressive, very angry in lower vibration forms. It also, though, when it's tapped into and harnessed, allows you to have the courage to be yourself, to be assertive, to be authentic, to speak up for yourself, to make things happen in your truth and authenticity. All things that are good Aries traits that you can bring in. So trying not to allow the anger and frustration that is definitely here, and we'll talk about with the other aspects, but focusing on bringing in the strong, I guess it would be divine or sacred masculine, the healthy masculinity that Aries brings in courage and assertiveness, opposed to aggression, anger, frustration, lashing out, projecting, etc., which we will see in the collective around us. And again, being aware that that energy is here, you can come to situations and focus on being assertive, where if you weren't aware, you may just allow your emotions to take over and the frustration and aggression that's surrounding you to seep in to your internal being, which we do not want. So do your best to channel in the two of those energies and just be aware that we're going for the assertive energy, the courageous, the confident Aries energy here, and not so much the aggressive, the war energy, the frustrated, lashing out energy that can also come. So with this full moon, the full moon is in Aries, the sign of self, and the sun is in Libra, the sign of others, and so an equilibrium. So we're finding balance in how we show up in the world for others and how we show up for ourselves, internally and in our truth. The other part of it is we are conjunct Chiron, which is the wounded healer. We'll get into that more, but we're going to be really trying to find, and we have been, and so this is a deeper step into it, finding who you are, who you want to be, how you fit in the world, and your truth, because Chiron is our wounded healer, and it has been in Aries for a while. It has been retrograding since June. So we're coming back to learn a lesson again. And with this Aries full moon, you have the ability to illuminate what some of those needs are. In order to do that, though, Aries and Chiron and Mars is also there, and the full moon asks us to turn inside and illuminate internally who we are, what our needs are, how we show up in the world, how we want to show up in the world, and then bringing in that Aries, that courageous ability to show up in the world, which heals our wound that Chiron holds. Let's break that down, how it works for you. So in your natal chart, you're going to look at the Aries energy. You're going to look at Chiron, where Chiron sits in your house. That is the wound that is being triggered here. So by these answers aren't going to come from the outside. These answers are coming internally. The full moon in Aries is illuminating your internal needs, wants, and again, the courage to show up in your truth. And that's a big thing happening in 2020. And it's a big shift here with this new moon where you can really bring in and light up your insides if you take the time to sit with yourself. So I would journal, I would meditate, I would just talk, just talk it out with yourself. But these answers aren't going to come externally. This is your truth. This is your authenticity. This is your happiness and your needs being met. And Aries is big on the self. And again, with Libra Sun, we're going to balance what we're doing for others and what we're doing for ourselves, how we show up in the world, how we show up for ourselves, and do they match? Do they balance? Mars, our planet that is ruled by Aries, is still in Aries. It's been in Aries. It's been retrograding. More on that information in a cosmic update before, so you can check in my YouTube, on my YouTube channel for that if you're interested. But this Mars is retrograding at 24 degrees Aries, and then we have Chiron retrograding at 7 degrees Aries, and then at 9 degrees Aries is this full moon, so it's in the middle right by Chiron. And so both of those planets, Mars, which is our warrior, our action, our go-getter, our fighter, our aggressor, the one who makes the changes and leads, they are retrograding. So we're learning a lesson around taking action and probably our emotions. This also holds some sexual tension here with the sign of Aries. It's also the masculine lover. And so all of these things being lit up around a retrograde. Anytime there's a planet in retrograde, we are learning a lesson. If you think about it, the way it looks, not really the way it works, but the way it works from Earth, is that we get really close in a retrograde and it almost looks like the planet is going backwards. And so when a planet goes backwards, in essence, it goes back to a place where it has already been. And that is what's happening with both of those planets in Aries. They are going back to a place that we've already been to teach us a lesson or allow us to a do-over, if you will. And so Chiron, the wounded healer, and Mars, the aggressor, the lover, the warrior, the leader, is also teaching us a lesson. So finding where those are in your chart will show you how this is interacting with you specifically. It's illuminating where we are now, where we were 6 months ago, where we are now, and where we want to go in the future. So almost a checkpoint, if you will. The end of 2020 is going to be tough. We talk about it all the time. Astrologers have been talking about it for years. So the last few months are going to be rough. So my advice to you, my invitation to you would be to release things that no longer serve you so that you can make space to bring in the new. And, a lot of times that's painful, and 2020 has been painful, and it's going to continue to be painful. And, there are some lights coming forward, and we'll talk about those in future videos, but, it's rough, so it's going to be painful. So I'm here if anyone needs to chat or needs a space. I offer free and budgeted services to those that are in financial need. I specifically offer those to people that intersect my communities, the queer and neurodiverse communities. And if you are in need, please, please, please reach out. I'll do everything I can to service you or find you the assistance that you feel comfortable with, because this is a rough time. It is heavy. There's a lot of changes, a lot of grief that we're still moving through, and a lot to come up over the next few months. So especially to my people with late cardinal signs, these last couple years have been tough. If your Saturn is in Capricorn, these last few years have been extra tough. So, reach out to me if you need a space or you need a resource in any way, and I'll do what I can to help assist you and resource you in that space. All right, now we're going to dive into all of the different aspects that are coming into this. So if you want a bigger breakdown of where the energy is coming and where exactly you can look in your chart and what exactly I'm looking at, now you're going to get it.